What is up, my dudes? It is Alec Lindstrom, former Boston College offensive lineman. You're listening to Basketball Conference, the ACC football podcast. Go Eagles and go ACC.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Basketball Conference, the ACC football podcast. My name is Joey Weaver. He is Mike McDaniel. Mike, week 5. How you doing? Ready to talk about some games?
A 5-week September in the ACC.
That's right. Wake me up when September ends. I don't know why that's the first place my mind went. Big Green Day guy over here. Mike, week 5, we're starting to get into bye week season, which is going to last here for a few weeks with the ACC. We have 4 teams on bye this week. We have 6 games that we're going to preview. We will get to those shortly. Before we do, let's take care of a little bit of podcast business. First off, for the folks watching this on YouTube, thank you. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon down there. Let us know that you're following it and keep up with the show. We usually like to come back and do Saturday night recaps live. You'll find out when those are. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. You'll find out when we go live. You can come join in on the comments, join in on the discussion as we have it Saturday nights as the games are wrapping up. So again, please subscribe. If you're not on YouTube right now, go to youtube.com/@the-ACC football podcast. Go hit the subscribe button. That'd be super helpful for us. We are going for 250 subscribers this season. Producer Scott, am I forgetting anything here so far?
Nope, currently at 221 before this recording, so help us get there.
That's right. We're getting close. Y'all are doing a great job, so thank you for all your help, for all the different folks that have been subscribing. We've been having a lot of fun so far with this ACC football season. First year that we've really done consistent Saturday night fever recaps, but we've been enjoying it. Hopefully you guys have been as well, so please come join us there. Mike, we have a game Friday night, but there's one more piece of podcast business we have to get to kind of in relation.
We are sponsored by Home Field Apparel. Home Field's fantastic. Use the promo code GOACC at checkout for 15% off your first order with Home Field. We also have a link that we include in the YouTube description and the show notes wherever you get your podcasts. It's on Twitter as well if you want to go find it there. Use that link. Use the promo code GOACC for 15% off your first order. Extremely comfortable, licensed collegiate apparel, vintage logos, extremely comfortable shirts, sweatshirts, you name it, they got it. Essentially every ACC school, and we make the joke, every ACC school except Stanford, right? Make that joke. They have a mini collection out this weekend, I believe, for Louisville NC State. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So go check that out. They just had a mini collection out for the Florida State Clemson game last weekend, which was an absolute banger.
Mm-hmm.
So go check out the Louisville NC State mini collection as well. Got that email earlier this week. Want to make sure to bump that. Great folks over at Home Field. Really glad to have them sponsoring the podcast this football season.
That's right. Yep. Go to homefieldapparel.com. Use promo code GOACC at checkout for 15% off your first order, specifically regarding the Louisville NC State collection. In honor of this weekend's game on Friday night at 7 p.m. on ESPN, where the Louisville Cardinals are on the road in Raleigh, taking on the NC State Wolfpack. Louisville, a 3.5-point road favorite. Total here is 55.5. Mike, is it fair to say that this line stinks a little bit?
Yep, it does.
Like I get that they're on the road, but just the way that these teams have looked so far, shouldn't Louisville be a bigger favorite than this?
This is the best defensive front, at least, the front seven. Best defensive front I think Louisville's played so far.
Yeah, I'm not familiar enough to say that like NC State's is definitely better than Indiana's, but NC State's is definitively good, solid, a really good defensive front. Yes.
Let's at least settle on one of the better teams they've played up front, right? I think that's going to be part of this equation here. Louisville's offense has been good, not great. They've gone through stretches where they've played really good football. They've gone through stretches where they've played very bad football on the offensive side of the ball. Same can be said for NC State here, right? NC State, the Brandon Armstrong thing with Robert and I coming in year one, we expected more, haven't really gotten it. Offensive line play has been a little bit suspect at times. I think Louisville is going to give NC State some problems up front in this game too. Like if you kind of flip to the other side of the equation. But I think we're still kind of waiting for that moment where Brennan Armstrong and the offense for NC State just kind of clicks. We're still waiting for that moment. We haven't seen it yet. We saw really for a couple drives in the first half against Notre Dame. NC State drove down and, they had a really nice touchdown drive in the second quarter of that game. They had another drive where they had good momentum against a pretty solid Notre Dame defense, as it turns out. But we haven't seen that consistently across the games they've played so far. I think NC State is a team where if they get enough stops on the defensive side of the ball against Louisville's offense, and this happens to be the game where Brandon Armstrong and the offense clicks, I think Louisville could be in some trouble here. This is a tough game on the road. Like Carter Finley, night game, Friday night, it's going to be wild in there. That's going to be a really tough atmosphere to go into. The line stinks, right? I think if you look at kind of how the first month of the season's gone, Louisville has looked like the better team. Now, granted, we look at Louisville's schedule and we keep going back to it. It's like, are we absolutely sure about Louisville, right? Or are we just sure that they are a competent football team, well coached, with a bad schedule? Not to say that they're a bad team, just they're competent, but maybe they're not excellent, right? Which is maybe as we get further along and the record continues to get really good, maybe they have that narrative where it's like, oh, they're really, really good. But in reality, it's like, yeah, well, they're competent. Their schedule really sucks. If they play a little bit tougher schedule, maybe this is like an 8-4 type team versus like 9-3, 10-2, whatever it ends up being. I'm going to take NC State outright. I think NC State, number one, has a great chance to cover. But number two, I think if you're going to bet this game, I would just go ahead and bet NC State on the money line at home. The line stinks. I think this defensive front of NC State could give Louisville some problems. And while I think Louisville has a good defense, I think NC State does have offensive upside here where if they do get some things rolling early in the game at home, I do feel like, this could be the game where we see the offense click. Offense hasn't been great, admittedly. I think Louisville's defense, I think on paper has an advantage, but we also haven't seen NC State play their best football yet on offense. But I like the Wolfpack here in an upset at home at Carter Finley. Tough environment. I would lean under, right? I think NC State wins an under game. I think if it's an over game, I think NC State's going to be in trouble, at least based on what we've seen so far through the first 4 games of the season. So I'm going to say NC State outright, and I'm going to take the under because that's the side I'm betting.
Yeah, I mean, as you alluded to, Mike, NC State's offense still not clicking. As we mentioned on the recap, against 3 FBS opponents so far, NC State averaging 24 points a game, having scored 24 against UConn, 24 against Notre Dame, and 24 against who did they play last week? It was somebody, Virginia. Yeah, they scored 24 against Virginia. So roughly 24 points a game you're expecting out of NC State right now. I am with you. Give me NC State in the points.
Hell yeah.
I'm not going to say NC State outright. I do think that there is a decent chance that they just win this game. I'm going to steer into the line. I agree with, I wonder how much NC State's defensive front could disrupt Louisville's run game. The biggest concern is to me, can NC State's secondary contain Louisville's wide receivers? Because I think that's a pretty good group of receivers that Louisville's running out there. This will be a big test for NC State, and they held up pretty well against Notre Dame for a while, and eventually kind of the dam broke there. This will be a different test, but I agree. I mean, a home underdog at night, a team that has some guys on both sides of the ball. It's just a matter of making it all kind of come together. I think NC State has a very good chance to win this game outright. I will say NC State plus the 3.5. I will say Louisville wins close, but I'm not confident in that right now. I would absolutely be on the under here. I think NC State is just going to be an under type of team. And I think the thing that we learned about Louisville against Indiana is when they play a decent defense, they can have some issues. They can run into some slowdowns there. And I mean, really, I think there's definitely something to be said about Louisville first half versus second half. Like almost every game they've played, they have only played about 30 solid minutes. Now, I mean, obviously last week against Boston College, 30 solid minutes meant they scored 42 points in the first half. And by the way, the thing that we totally whiffed on the recap, what I did not realize is when Louisville got the ball back with about 35 seconds till halftime, and they had a two-play touchdown drive.
Yeah, you sent me this.
The first play was a fake kneel down that then they handed the ball off to Jawar Jordan, who took it, 40 yards down the field. Like, wow.
That was the Go ACC moment of the week, and we whiffed on it. That's why we say, hey, we can't see every single play, so we need some help from time to time. That's why we pitched that to our listeners.
Yep. And while we're talking about that, by the way, you would be super helpful to us. You, the listener, would be very, very helpful to us as you see things on Twitter throughout the weekend. Tag us in them. Hashtag GoACCMOTW. Those things all very, very helpful, especially as we do these live recaps. We don't have time to catch everything that we would like to, but if we got more eyes, more ears out there, definitely tag us and stuff and help make sure that we see it so that we can include it on the recaps. But
we have kids. We have to sacrifice one of the football windows pretty much every Saturday. So please help.
Agreed. Give me NC State plus the 3.5 and under 55.5. The big variable in this game to me, honestly, is NC State's offense. Like,
massive variable.
Can they make it start to click a little bit better? And if they can, I do think that they win this game.
That's the way they pulled the upset off. I could see a scenario where NC State plays an under game. Offense isn't clicking and they cover, but they don't win outright because their offense just sputtered again, in the red zone, or they couldn't finish drives, what have you.
Yeah, I'll take Louisville 24-21, something like that. I'd be a little surprised if this game got out of the 40s, honestly. I think this is going to be a bit of a rock fight.
Yeah, I would say definitely bet NC State plus the points and then sprinkle a little on the money line is what I would suggest. The one thing you said that I thought was a really good point, NC State's defense, how it held up against Notre Dame for stretches, and then the dam broke. I'm interested to see, because this is going to be a different Louisville offense, right? Louisville, I think, more athletic on the outside, at least more veteran athletic experience on the outside than Notre Dame. Notre Dame is more ground and pound, and then Sam Hartman's going to hit you over the top with a big play in the passing game. Louisville's just going to try to get it to their athletic receivers in the passing game, and they're not going to try to play that physical ground and pound game for 60 minutes like Notre Dame would. Like, Notre Dame's just going to hand the ball off and just break your will. Louisville's not going to do that. They're more athletic. They're going to try to get to their skill position players in space. A little bit different offense, a little bit different test, but I think the point that you made was right on the money. Like, this is going to be a very good test for NC State defensively.
Yep. Sure will. All right. NC State and the under. Let's keep going, Mike. We got 5 games on Saturday. We will start at noon on ABC. We're just going to do these in chronological order. I think
that's cool.
That's fair.
That works for me.
Let's start at noon on ABC as the oh boy.
Gross.
The Clemson Tigers on the road in the venue formerly known as the Carrier Dome. Clemson, a 6.5 point road favorite. Total is 53.
Hey, Scott, quick question for you. This isn't a lock sound, but do we have the Adam Sandler sound teed up? It's just totally out of context, but kind of not.
Gets business by meeting people and making contacts.
Meet with me. Come on, I'll order in from Cozy's. We'll have fun.
I am sick of Cozy's. You order in from there all the time. The delivery guy's like your best friend.
Well, he happens to be pretty damn nice. There's a rough patch in my life right now, all right? Syracuse is 0-3. I got those medical problems.
There it is.
Syracuse
I just wanted to play
0-3, by the way.
No, they're not. They're a wagon. They're kind of a wagon. Yeah.
Were you spooked at all by the way that the Army game played out last week for Syracuse?
Yes. Funny you should mention that. And you know what kind of spooked me even more, kind of when taking a step back and looking at this game, is that Clemson's defense looked pretty damn good against Jordan Travis for long, and a very athletic, very good Florida State offense for pretty much the entire game. I mean, they give up the touchdown overtime to Keon Coleman. Clemson's defense is not why it lost the game. It was the lack of offensive execution in the fourth quarter and overtime.
Right.
The way that Clemson defense looked makes me wonder Syracuse's viability here, right? Because I think Syracuse's best offense is running Garrett Schrader like 15 to 20 times and having them hit a couple of big plays through the air. And I'm not sure that's going to necessarily be available to them in this game.
All the logic says you're right? Like Clemson is way more talented. Their defense should be more than capable of slowing down what Syracuse is running out there on offense. I'm just like still a little bit shell shocked by like every other year when Syracuse plays Clemson, they almost beat them. Like, I don't know why. I can't explain it. I couldn't explain it then. I can't explain it now. But there just seems like, and especially when this game's in the Carrier Dome, it just seems like there's something there that I don't know. It's hard to explain, and I'm spooked by the whole thing. Like, super letdown spot here in a noon game.
Gigantic letdown spot.
This is the letdown spot of the year for Clemson, and I mean, like, Two years ago, 2021, last time Clemson was in the Carrier Dome, 17-14 Clemson. I believe they had to score with, I guess they scored. Syracuse scored in the middle of the fourth quarter to make it 17-14. But like, this was a close game. You know, it was 14-7 at halftime, like all through the third quarter. I don't know, man. There's something about this Clemson team and this Syracuse team that like Clemson just cannot put them away early and easily. That's the thing that I'm just thinking on here is all the logic and everything says that Clemson should be way better, I think, so far, just from a talent standpoint and all that. But like, man, I'm not sure. I don't know.
I mean, this is definitely a letdown spot for Clemson, but this is also a really, really important game on their schedule. The reason why is because Clemson's behind the 8 ball from an ACC standpoint. They're behind the 8 ball. They don't own the tiebreaker over Duke. They have 2 conference losses already. And Syracuse is one of those teams where, like, you got to beat them, because if you don't, you could find yourself behind them from a win percentage standpoint, of tiebreakers at the end of the year. You need to win this football game if you want to have a shot to get into a conference title game. You need to win this game. You got to keep winning football games and hope that Duke sputters, or hope that North Carolina or Miami sputter. But Duke owns that tiebreak, right? So this is a really important game because Syracuse is playing good football right now. I agree with everything you said, though, about, looking at Syracuse and looking at Clemson, how Syracuse has played Clemson specifically at the Dome. I get all that. On paper, though, I don't see it for Syracuse here. Dino always has them ready to play Clemson. 1,000%. You can make arguments for both sides here, but the version of the offense I've seen out of Clemson the last 2 weeks, again, one was Florida Atlantic, but to kind of repeat that against Florida State for 98% of the game and have a good offensive plan and be executing relatively well, didn't finish a couple drives in the red zone, but overall finished drives pretty well in that game. This is a version of the Clemson offense that I think Syracuse is going to have trouble keeping up with the way Clemson's front seven has been playing. I am taking Clemson. I hate it. 6 in the hook. Disgusting.
They're giving you 7 here.
I'm taking Clemson. Clemson by a touchdown. I can get behind Clemson by a touchdown, can't I?
I can't blame you for making that pick.
You are picking Syracuse.
I hope you can't blame me for taking Syracuse plus.
Yeah, you're picking Syracuse.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I looked at this spread, I think, coming into the week, and I was just like, God, I am not looking forward to getting on a podcast and having to make a pick on this game.
I just hated talking about this.
This one of us is going to look and feel like a fool when we come back and recap these games. I don't know. I would stay away from this with my own money, by the way. This whole thing makes me uncomfortable. For what it's worth, SP Plus, I believe has Syracuse. Syracuse in the points, Clemson favored by about 2 here instead of 6.5. So a 4.5 point difference is not nothing. But yeah, I don't know. Total's 53. Pass. I just pass on this game. No, thank you.
I'd like to pass on. I'd like to just pass on this entire game. Yeah, betting wise, I am totally out on this. I have no interest in betting it. I don't know what the right side is. No, thank you on this game.
100% keep an eye on it because this has so much potential to go very sideways in one way or another. So,
well, let me tell you this. This is what I think the potential outcomes are. I think it's Syracuse by a couple. Wow.
Go
Pause.
on.
Clemson by a couple scores. Clemson close or Syracuse close. Syracuse by a couple scores would be alarmingly bad for Clemson. Alarmingly bad.
Yep.
Not necessarily surprising, but alarmingly bad. That would be the one outcome where I would be getting on the recap and be like, oh my God.
Yeah, what happened here?
What happened here, right?
And bigger questions about what is happening in Clemson. So, all right, well, we have our picks, but cannot recommend that you get on that for what that's worth.
I am not making I'm not even making a pick on the total because I just don't know.
Well, thankfully, we have another game that you're probably more excited to talk about here at 2:00 on the CW, noted ACC network.
Disgusting.
Your Virginia Cavaliers, Mike, on the road in Chestnut Hill, taking on the Boston College Eagles. Boston College is a 3-point favorite here. Total is 54.5. This is arguably an ACC bottom of the barrel bowl. Which is,
you think we have another team? We have another team to talk about later that would beg to differ.
Well, we got a couple folks in the comments that were really singing the praises of Thomas Castellanos going into the Louisville game, and I haven't heard from him since. So I hope they're doing
that's
okay.
Odd. Yeah, that's real odd. I wonder why that is.
I'm pretty sure that Virginia is an underdog here, specifically because I believe Tony Elliott came out and said that Tony Muskett is going to be the starting quarterback for the Cavs this weekend. So it sounds like Tony went with the wrong Tony here instead of going with Tony, which is
I don't believe him.
Right? Like,
I don't believe
why?
Him. He did this a couple weeks ago. I don't believe him.
Unless Tony Muskett is so much better than he looked in most of that game against Tennessee, and I realize context-wise, I'm just saying it looked so uninspired watching him throw the ball and try to run that offense. Like, he has to look so much better than Anthony Calandria, and give them such better chances to win games for this to be a good thing for the Virginia program. Like, if it's roughly equal, just play the freshman. Play the guy that you recruited in out of high school. Play the guy is he local? I forget where he's from, Calandria. But in any case,
sounds Italian.
Muskett better be way better than Calandria. Otherwise, I don't know what they're doing here.
Okay, I don't believe Tony Elliott. Also, if he actually plays Muskett, he's out of his mind. He's out of his mind. Based on what I've seen so far, he's insane. That would be insane.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's still mad at Calandria for the 15-yard penalty at the end of the NC State game. But, I mean, let's, tread lightly there because Tony Elliott's made plenty of decisions over his first year and a half where I'm like, man, are you sure you want to be taking it out on your quarterback who's gotten you competitive in some of these games?
I was going to say.
We can just roll the tape and talk about some of the questionable coaching decisions he's made.
If you think he's the biggest reason that you didn't win that game,
buddy,
maybe look at your guy that leapfrogged off someone's back and over the snapper on the field goal attempt that gave NC State a free 15-yard try.
Yeah, that's right. Personal foul, leaping. That was quite the penalty call, wasn't it?
It was not subtle either. I mean, it was a full-on anyways, never mind.
Yeah, signs of a well-coached team. For sure.
Total 54.5. I'm leaning over here, I think.
I'm leaning over as well. Hey, Scott, can you play the Virginia sound for me?
But not too much so we don't get demonetized.
Not too much so we don't get fined, yeah. Look, if it's Calandria playing, I like Virginia plus the 3. If it's Muskett, Boston College by a touchdown or more.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm leaning under. I think both of these offenses just suck. So defenses aren't much better. I'm going to go with the under. if Tony Muskett plays, definitely bet the under, and then maybe bet Virginia team total under. I don't even know what it is. Doesn't matter.
I mean, total 54.5. Quick math would say that implied score here is like 28-25, 29-26, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Muskett's the quarterback the whole game, they're not getting past 24 points. Like,
no. Famous last words.
Yeah. I won't. I don't know if I can put the conditional thing on it from a pick standpoint. I feel gross. I'll just lay him with Boston College.
Okay. I'll join you.
I don't like Boston College as a favorite against an ACC program right now, but like that's how out I am on Tony Muskett. And if there's a Virginia fan sitting in their car screaming at the radio about how we saw less than one game of Tony and
Chris Condon, no, I'm just kidding. just totally kidding. He's a
Calandria guy. Come on. Maybe I'm proven wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have been driving the Anthony Calandria hype train ever since that first game that he was in. It was like, this kid, we might have something here. Like,
yeah,
it's super volatile, but that's at least entertaining and gives you a chance to win. So I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe Ferber's the one screaming at the car right now. It's just like screaming at the radio.
Man, if we're working on the theory that it is Muskett, I don't think I can go over the 54.5. If it were Calandria, it would be over. It'd be over. I don't think either of these defenses is particularly good right now. So, all right. Boston College minus the 3, and I will pass on the total. And Mike,
I'll go BC in the under.
Okay, BC in the under.
Yeah.
We are through half these games. We have not locked up anything yet, so we gotta keep that in mind. Just you wait. Mike, next game is at 3:30. That preview brought to you by section103.com. It is the internet's premier place for all things wonderful, comfortable, good-looking Georgia Tech apparel. They have things for men, women, children, something for the whole family. They have T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies. They have some baseball tees. They've got jerseys with player names and numbers on the front and back, supporting NIL efforts. They've got some buttons and all sorts of good things. So if you want people to know that you are a Georgia Tech fan, you're going to the game this weekend, you need something to wear, go to section103.com. Use promo code GOACC for 10% off your first order. The fun thing you might have noticed this season, once again, Brent Key running up and down the sidelines wearing a short sleeve hoodie. It seems like one of the things the kids are into these days. I don't totally get it, especially in the warm months, but wearing a short sleeve hoodie, they sell those on section103.com with all the official word marks, the official colors, the official Tech gold, the ATL logo, anything that you want Georgia Tech wise, go find it there. I'm wearing mine right now. This is the Performance Georgia Tech shirt, just the official word mark on there. Super comfortable. Again, as a performance tee, it wicks water, sweat away really nicely. Highly recommended. So once again, use promo code GOACC for 10% off your first order at section103.com. Thank you to Steven and the gang for their continued partnership. At 3:30 p.m. on the ACC network. Mike, we
there it is.
We mentioned, we were talking about this before we came on and recorded, is that we only have it's a pretty short week, right? 6 games is really short for a preview, and so sometimes we would throw a Notre Dame game in, being that they're a full voting member of the ACC, and sometimes we would even call out the Bowling Green game, because of obvious reasons,
right?
And here we just have no choice because the Bowling Green Falcons are on the road in Atlanta taking on my Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets.
That sound never gets old.
Georgia Tech is a 21.5 point favorite. Total is 51. I'm never all that confident. At least I haven't been in years picking Georgia Tech against the spread one way or the other. Like there's always just a lot of, I can't trust this team to be one thing or another in a given week. But it really helps, Mike, I would say, when a team like Bowling Green comes in, that it kind of doesn't matter what I think Georgia Tech is, because I kind of know what Bowling Green is.
Yeah. There's at least some certainty on one side, right? Mm-hmm. Where, with Bowling Green, they kind of are what they are. Like, what you're going to get. And it's been kind of a year-over thing now. Scott Loeffler. By the way, I think we should keep an eye out on his job security.
He's been
right?
there most of the life of this podcast at this point. Like
Odd. Yeah. Virginia Tech could use an offensive coordinator. Maybe Scott Leffler can come back. There it is.
no, God.
Yeah. I think I'm just going to.
He's in year 5 as head coach there. Good grief.
I don't even know how that's possible. I think I should probably lay them here with Georgia Tech. The way Haynes Kings looked, Georgia Tech's defense played a little bit better game last week against Wake. For the Mitch Griffiths, right? Obviously stepped down from Sam Hartman. And for everything we can say about Mitch Griffiths, he's going to be better than whatever Bowling Green's putting out there, quarterback, right? And I thought Georgia Tech made some positive steps defensively last weekend. So give me Georgia Tech. I'm going to lay them. The hook scares me a little bit, but give me Georgia Tech and the under here as well. I'm picking a lot of unders tonight too, which is a little odd.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia Tech and the under. I don't know how much Bowling Green scores here. I think I'm pretty comfortable with Georgia Tech getting into that 27 to 30 point range. And if this is like 30-6, that would be something that would obviously put the game under. Mm-hmm. I could also see like 30. I could also see like 34 to 13, and whoops, Georgia Tech doesn't cover.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for purposes of this podcast, I will lay them with Georgia Tech, but I would not bet this game with your own money.
Yeah, I think that's fair. For what it's worth, SP Plus has Bowling Green covering by like 1.5. Basically saying that the spread here is pretty close, pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Principal tells me just lock up anybody playing against Bowling Green, but I think calmer heads tell me don't lay 21.5 with Georgia Tech right now against anyone.
Yeah.
Let's take Georgia Tech. I'll lay the points. This is a tune-up game. They got Miami next week. I would hope this is not a look-ahead spot, kind of a sleepy situation. I'd like to think this team realizes at 2-2 they have a chance to be 3-2. Which, by the way, David Hale tweeted out this week that if Georgia Tech wins on Saturday, that would make them above 500 in September for the first time since 2017.
Yep.
So go Jackets on that. But I'd like to think that they realize that they've got to have a game like this if they have any chance of getting to a bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I expect an inspired effort here. I kind of agree on under 51, and it really is just the question of how much does Bowling Green score here.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at, a couple of the games that Bowling Green has played so far. I mean, the last couple games, Ohio 38-7, Michigan 31-6. A team like Michigan, right? The reigning national or reigning Big Ten champion, playoff contender or participant the last couple of years. They have every talent advantage in the world, and they only put up 31 points. Now, how much of that is on Michigan just not wanting it or whatever?
Yeah, they're not really blowing people out right now. They did the same thing against Rutgers. They kind of screwed around for a while and then pulled away.
Yeah, so I'll take the under because it doesn't seem like Bowling Green's offense is doing a whole lot of anything against anybody. But obviously, Georgia Tech's defense might be the cure for the common offense, as Dan Rubenstein likes to say.
Yeah, they're kind of bad. But if they play like they did last weekend against Wake Forest, I think this is an under game. I think Georgia Tech probably covers because I am confident in what I've seen from Haynes King in the offense. I am confident that Georgia Tech's going to score high 20s, low 30s, putting them in a pretty good spot to cover. It's just a matter of don't let Bowling Green backdoor this thing, which I think is a distinct possibility, but I'm just going to lay them with Georgia Tech anyway.
Yep, agreed. All right, Georgia Tech and the under for the both of us. Let's move on, Mike, in the night slate. And this is probably about the time that I point out that I didn't really notice this until we started recording. But 6 games this weekend, 4 of them we got home dogs. Just kind of calling that out.
Mm-hmm.
At 7:30 p.m. on ABC, this is the College Gameday situation. And no, this is not a misspeak when I tell you that College Gameday is headed to Durham for number 11 Notre Dame on the road, taking on the number 17 Duke Blue Devils. Notre Dame, a 6-point road favorite here. Total is 52. First of all, absolute Super Bowl situation for Duke.
Yeah. Speaking of lines that stink, by the way.
Absolute letdown situation for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
This line absolutely stinks.
Yeah.
And I'm very not sure of what to do here with this number, especially inside of a touchdown like this. It's like I feel like I'm asking a lot of Duke to hang with Notre Dame for 4 quarters. I think especially in the trenches is what really, really concerns me, as always with Notre Dame against any other ACC program.
This has Notre Dame, NC State written all over it. All over it, with a slightly better offense from Duke, right? Or I not slightly better. They're a lot better offensively. They run the ball really well, and Leonard does enough through the air to make them competitive there. Duke's got a much better offense so far than NC State. But from a talent standpoint, I don't think Duke's offense versus NC State's offense, I don't think the talent discrepancy is all that large. I just think Duke's been playing better, performing better. Execution's been a lot better. This really just has the NC State game against Notre Dame written all over it. I fully understand letdown spot for Notre Dame. When you talk about emotional losses and really, really tough ways to lose, you may not see a tougher way to lose than how Notre Dame lost that game against Ohio State at home last Saturday. Notre Dame went through something similar last season. They lost to Ohio State at the Shoe, came back home to South Bend, lost to Marshall. There are a lot of players from that team that are left over on this version of the Notre Dame team this year. Marcus Freeman, you're telling me he's not in their ear all week, letting them know that they still have a ton to play for? Because I've seen people discounting Notre Dame from a playoff standpoint. There is so much football left, and Notre Dame still has a USC team on the schedule that I think is going to be top 5 when they play it. They still have a Clemson team that I still think, could end up being pretty good. The offense holds up. There's this Duke game, by the way. Duke's not going to lose many more games this year. They haven't lost any yet. And even if you think they lose this game against Notre Dame on Saturday night, I don't think Duke's losing a ton this year. So Notre Dame's going to have some quality wins on the schedule to point to. They have plenty left to play for. I acknowledge letdown spot. I acknowledge Duke Super Bowl situation. I get that. But over 4 quarters, the Notre Dame rushing attack just breaks your will. Is Duke going to hang in the trenches for 4 quarters? Mike Elko, former Notre Dame defensive coordinator. Big game for him. Biggest game of his Duke tenure. Game day. Herb Street calling the game, whole bit. I just don't see it for Duke here. I think Duke hangs. I think Duke's competitive. I think it's a very good football game for 2.5 quarters. And then I think as we get to the latter stages of the 3rd quarter, early 4th quarter, I think Notre Dame pulls away. They cover. They win this game by 10-13. I think Duke shows well here. I'm picking Notre Dame. They're the better team on both sides of the football. If Duke covers, if Duke wins, buddy, Elko, pick your job. Pick your job.
This is a job that came open today that he might be interested in.
Yep. Pick your job. Because if you beat this Notre Dame team that just went toe-to-toe and probably should have beaten Ohio State last Saturday, whatever job you want is yours this offseason if you want it. So,
yeah,
huge game for Elko. Huge game for Elko. But give me Notre Dame minus the 6. And I think maybe give me over 52. So,
is this the part where I'm supposed to say something intelligible about what I think is going to happen here? I think you're spot on, honestly, with the Notre Dame NC State comparison, right? I think Duke, again, what I've always said about Duke, always, going back to last year, I don't think that there's any one thing that they are particularly outstanding at. I also would say I don't think that they're bad at anything. I think they are aggressively competent. I don't think that they're like incredibly athletic. I think this is a game where you might see a couple issues with, can Duke's skill talent threaten Notre Dame's defense, especially. I'm not totally sure that they can, but man, this is not only this is a Super Bowl situation for Duke, but especially for Mike Elko. I mean, what an opportunity for that guy. And I also can't help but think on what's all the conversation that you've heard, Mike, about Notre Dame coming out of the Ohio State game last weekend.
Coaching. Freeman's looking incompetent in big games, like big moments in big games, and can't, the 10 men on the field at the end against Ohio State, which is really tough to defend that, right? That's really tough. Like coach upstairs is screaming at you to get somebody out there in the booth. Like I get not seeing it on the field necessarily. There's a lot going on, but that is a really, really tough look. Twice out of a timeout. Like,
they made a conscious choice. Like they realized it, I think, before Ohio State ran the first play, and they made a conscious choice. No, we're not going to run anybody out there. We'd rather we'd rather Ohio State take their chances, or something. And then they didn't want to run them out there again because they're like, well, what if they hurry up?
And Pete Sampson from the Athletic, Notre Dame beat writer for the Athletic, he noted this. Ohio State subbed running backs on the play. Notre Dame had the opportunity to run somebody out there late. They were entitled to it without a penalty. Still didn't do it.
Yep.
So tough. That's a tough look.
And the reason I bring this up is I wonder if this is a little bit of a get right situation for Marcus Freeman. If they're a little extra focused on that coaching staff, if they're a little bit extra buttoned up. Something I wonder about. I want to take the home dog here. I do. Me too. Couldn't do it. And I have a feeling that I have a certain feeling that I'm gonna look silly, but give me Notre Dame. I'll lay the points. Yeah. Not a ton of confidence. 52. Yeah, not a lot. And I lean under the I'm not gonna pick the total here. Okay. I'm good on that. I don't need that in my life. I don't know. So I guess Notre Dame minus the 6, leaving the total alone. I have not just these lines this week are just it's rough. This is rough. This could end up looking like we could end up looking real good. We've agreed on a lot tonight. We could end up looking really good, or we could end up looking really, really bad. And it's a coin flip. Yeah, it's a coin flip. Yeah, give me Notre Dame like 31-21, which would be like right on the number total wise, by the way. That's a push. How about that? You know what, Scott? I'm not going to scratch me from the total as well. Now that I think a little bit more about it, I have no interest in picking the total. In fact, I'm picking a push. Lock it up. No, lock up the push. Not seriously. Not that would be that would be an incredible call, though. All right. Sounds good. Notre Dame minus the 6 for the both of us. And it sounds like Mike is backing off the total as well. Yeah, backing off the total. You talked me out of that one. Fair enough. Mike, one more game. You want to take care of a little more podcast business before we do? Let's do it. What if people are going to this Notre Dame Duke game? I expect a raucous crowd at Cameron Indoor Stadium or wherever Duke plays these football games. Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Join the Wallace Wade Wackos.
The Wallace Wade Whackos. There you go.
Scott and I experienced them firsthand. That was something, huh, Scott?
Yeah, we snuck into the student section. We got yelled at to leave. We didn't leave. The Hokies won the game. We went home.
It was good. Sounded like it didn't have to be all that sneaky either.
No, we walked in.
We walked in, they kicked us out, and when we just basically walked down another aisle and went right back to the seats we were sitting at, they left us alone because that was like bad Duke. That was
Daniel Jones Duke, baby.
Duke. 17 or so?
Yeah, I think 17. That sounds right. Yeah, we're sponsored by Vivid Seats. Link in the video description here on YouTube. Link in the bio on our pod. We have a tweet out there on our podcast. Use that link as well, and then use the link that you see wherever you get your podcasts, in the episode notes as well. Using that link is really important for Vivid Seats. Use the promo code BCPOD20 for $20 off your first order of $200 or more at vividseats.com. This is very easy to spend $200 or more on Vivid Seats or any of these third-party ticketing websites, but we have the promo code for you. Get you $20 off your first order, BCPOD20, using Vivid Seats. Really glad to have them on board as a sponsor this season.
Yep. Yeah, go do that. Again, link in the description of this video on YouTube, the audio if you're listening to it on your phone or whatever you use to get your podcasts. We've got it on Twitter. Go find it. You need tickets to something. At this day and age, it's probably going to be more than $200. So why don't you just get $20 off using our link in BCPod20 on vividseats.com.
Supports them, supports podcast. What could be better?
Mike, at 8 o'clock on the ACC network, are you going to be here at this or?
No.
The Pitt Panthers, a 2.5-point favorite on the road in Blacksburg, taking on your Virginia Tech Hokies. The total is 39.5.
What the hell's the matter with you? I mean, it was a fair question. I'm a Virginia Tech alum. It's a night home game in late September. It's a fair question to ask if I'm going to be there.
Who are we kidding? I knew what I was doing.
I know you did. This is like beer on the couch territory here for me. Actually, it won't be.
Liquor.
I work Saturday night, so I won't be drinking anything. let me take that back.
Right.
Let me take that back. Yeah. Okay, so I want to bring up a stat here for you real quick, which you'll appreciate because I spent 4 hours podcasting about a 1-3 Virginia Tech football team last night.
God bless.
Two different shows. Nice sound drop, Scott. So a lot's been made about the Virginia Tech rushing defense, which has been terrible. It's one of the worst in college football. It's been terrible through 4 games. There have been moments, though, at least against Rutgers and against Marshall, where there have been signs that they've been getting things a little bit ironed out on the defensive side of the ball against the run. The issue is that both Rutgers and Marshall broke off a couple of big runs in the second half of both of those games that really, it's like the straw that broke the camel's back. Rasheen Ali for Marshall, their star running back, I think he finished with 174 yards rushing or 172 yards rushing in that game last weekend. He was really, really good. 172 and 2 scores on 27 carries. So pretty good yards per carry average there. But then you look at how he got there. And I was watching that game against Marshall, and I was thinking, you know what? Virginia Tech's holding up pretty well against the run here, is what I was thinking in the first half. And they were. Here's the thing. Rasheen Ali in this game had 25 carries for 57 yards. That is 2.28 yards per carry. That sounds really, really good, doesn't it? Signs of improvement. The other part of that is he also had 2 carries for 117 yards and 2 touchdowns in a game that Virginia Tech lost by 7. 2 rushes turned the entire game around for Marshall. With a Virginia Tech offense that's missing pieces and has a bad offensive line, it's not good, right? Defense has to clean up the run fits. They're very correctable issues that they haven't been able to really correct so far this year. It's been tough. I look at this game on Saturday, and I think Virginia Tech is in a spot where if they get a couple of stops defensively in this game, a low-scoring affair at home in Blacksburg, I think Virginia Tech is going to have enough offense with Kyron Drones. It should be a healthy version of Jalen Lane at receiver in this game. I think the play calling will be a little bit better. Virginia Tech ran the ball pretty well against Marshall in the first half and then didn't stick with it. They got off to a good start. They scored on the first drive, marched right up the field. They forced a turnover. They went for it on 4th down on that second drive, didn't get it. And then they were just kind of going back and forth for the rest of the first half. And then Marshall got a couple scores right before halftime, and one of them was that Rasheen Ali touchdown run. It was a killer. So I think Virginia Tech, you get a few stops against the run here, clean up the run fits, just show a little bit better there, and then run the football and commit to it with your running quarterback, run Kyron Drones a little bit more, and you're in a spot here at home against a Pittsburgh team that hasn't been very good, right? Phil Dracovic gets real banged up at the end of North Carolina game. He's questionable. If he plays Saturday, does it really change all that much? I don't know. I mean, Pittsburgh would rather have him out there probably than Christian Veilleux, who looked bad in a small sample size throwing the football. If this ends up being Christian Veilleux in a road start, his first start at Pittsburgh, and it's going to be on the road in Blacksburg, it's a sold-out, hostile environment. Yeah, it's still a hostile environment. They're still selling the stadium out, even though the team sucks.
It's sold out? Like, what kind of Nebraska stuff is this?
It's sold out, right? The fan base is sick. I have the podcast numbers to back it up, Joey. This is a disgusting fan base. Like, they crave this football program to be good more than anything on the planet. This is a tough spot for Pittsburgh, and the line doesn't make any sense. Logic would tell you Pittsburgh, while they're bad, they're going to be a better coach team with Narduzzi, right? They're going to commit to running the football with Rodney Hammond, and they'll do enough defensively to give a young quarterback in Kyron Drone some issues. That's the logical point of view. The line makes no sense. This isn't even me being a homer. The line makes absolutely no sense. This feels like the Georgia Tech Wake Forest line from last week. And on this podcast, I bet on Wake Forest as a favorite for the picks. And then on Friday night, I placed a bet with my own money on Georgia Tech money line. This week, this line feels very similar. And you know what? I'm steering into it with the Hokies. Low scoring affair. I think Virginia Tech wins like 17-16. Disgusting, gross game against Christian Veilleux.
Under
39.5. Scott, let's lock that up. Under 39.5. We're locking it.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Please.
I know you've been preparing for this all night. Yeah. Terrible. Two bad offenses. Virginia Tech's defense at home, I think, finally gets some stops against the run, wins a close, ugly game against Pittsburgh. Makes no sense. I'm steering into it. Give me the I should be fading him, but give me the Hokies. Out of nowhere. 1-3 out of nowhere. They have no business winning this game. Out of nowhere in Blacksburg. They win outright. 17,
I don't care.
16,
I'm a sicko.
under. I don't care. I'm a sicko. Under. Give me the Hokies. Gross. Talk about gross picks tonight. We've had a lot of gross picks. This is the most disgusting pick I've made on this podcast this season.
Yeah,
this is it right here.
I cannot in good faith recommend watching this game. I cannot.
God no. Absolutely not.
I'll make this simple, Mike. I've kind of gone into this season, and I don't think it's any surprise that I have been in fade Virginia Tech mode.
Yeah.
I was that way in the preseason with the win total. I've been this way so far in the games, and it's worked out for me so far. I don't know that I'm fading Virginia Tech this week.
Wait a minute. What? Wait a minute. What?
I think I'm with you.
Oh my God. Oh no. No. This is catastrophic even.
I think this is a as big a circle the wagons home game, night game situation as you're going to get. And it's against a Pitt team that, as you said, is definitively better coached. But man, they cannot score. And with Phil Jurkovec, as bad as he's been, is the starter. So what are we going to get for 4 quarters of Christian Veilleux? I don't want any part of Pitt here. I don't.
Pitt's offense is worse than Virginia Tech's.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. I've just been so underwhelmed by Pitt so far this year. They put up 24 points last week against North Carolina. Some of that was even a little bit of smoke and mirrors with there was a special teams touchdown. And I mean, Pitt does not look like a good football team right now, like full stop. They're just, the way that they lost to West Virginia, the way that they lost to Cincinnati, they are not in a good place. And not that Virginia Tech is a good football team, but again, this just feels like a gotta have it game for the Hokies at home at night, as mentioned. Iffy situation at quarterback for Pitt. By the way, Matt Gonsalves.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even mention that. Yeah.
Starting left tackle. He's
all
out for the year.
All ACC offensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
Significant.
Yeah. Third team All ACC last year as a junior. He's out for the year. Not a good situation for Pitt. Give me the Hokies outright at home. I think Virginia Tech wins this game on the field. I don't think they're going to win many this year, but I think they get this one. And I think it's a gotta have it situation for Brent Pry, especially as this. I'm really kind of blown away at the whole, like, the fans are, if the game is sold out, like, how are the fans not turning on Brent Pry quite yet? It seems like they're kind of starting to. And yet
they still sell the stadium out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to be one of those fake sellouts either. Like, they'll be there.
Yeah. Yep.
They're filling it up for nooners. Like, they're going to be there.
Yep.
Crazy.
I think the crowd wills Virginia Tech to a win on Saturday night.
That place is going to be loud.
This is a good shot to get one for a team that, is not going to make a bowl game. There's not going to be a lot of wins. You got a shot here. So.
Yeah. This is better. Get your win out of the way before you go play Florida State on national television at 3:30 next Saturday. Get this one out of the way.
Yeah, get everyone feeling good before you have to go watch that next weekend.
Yeah.
So, all right, Hokies, and then as much as under 39.5. I think that's the pick. And weirdly, I guess to some degree, it's like really just both offenses don't do a whole lot of scoring.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think either of these teams is very good. I think the better part of each team is probably the defense. So even a total is low, something in the 30s. Yeah, give me the under. I think that, like you said, 17-16, 14-12, something ridiculous.
11-9.
11-9. Yeah.
2-0.
3-0 in overtime, something like that. Like, yeah. You caught that reference. So
I did.
Hokies money line in the under for the both of us. On
gross. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
This is shocking that we agreed here. I am mesmerized by this.
I don't, and again, I don't have a lot of analytics here. There are no hell. SP Plus says Pitt is probably about 6, should be favored by about 6 here. So SP Plus says take Pitt, but I don't know that SP Plus knows that got to be a streamer back for whatever that is. And then I don't think that they know that the Hokies just got to have it.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
Yeah, the machine doesn't know.
Yeah, no way. All right, well, that's 6 games, Mike. We spent almost an hour talking about them, so how about that?
Right on schedule. You have no locks?
I guess I have to pick something.
You have to pick something.
Oh gosh.
Just join me on the under.
Okay, yeah, under 39.5. We're locking up something in the 30s, going under.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Please do. All right, under 39.5. Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, locked up for the both of us. Mike, anything else? Should we talk about, I guess, podcast bets? Something that we're going to start doing?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So this is an idea that I believe you had in the offseason, Mike, that we probably should have started week 1, all things considered, but
not the 5th week of the season.
Got to keep it fresh. We get into October here. We're going to start like a little segment here at the end of the preview show called Podcast Bets. Now, as the people know, Mike and producer Scott live in the state of Virginia, which is one of the blessed U.S. states where sports gambling is legal these days. So the idea here, Mike and Scott, is that, as we, there's been a couple extra ads here and there in the show, getting a little bit of revenue coming in. The idea is to take that, throw it into an account, and see what we can do with it from a betting perspective. If we're making picks on the show, you might as well, put a little bit of skin in the game here. So the idea is at the end of each preview show, we are going to be letting you all know what we are going to be actually betting on as a show, just to see what happens. And you guys can decide if you want to follow us, if you want to fade us. Tell us what you think.
Collectively, these are picks that Joey and I agree on putting our money on.
Right.
this weekend.
Yeah, we're like
Our
a married
actual
couple
money.
with a joint bank account. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Which is weird because we've had a very small, not small. I call it a small bank account, but it's kind of basically what it is. We've been dividing money. We've been dividing money amongst each other for about 7 years now. Small amounts only.
I mean, Mike is a professional accountant, and you would not understand how long of a text chain it was trying to figure out who owed who what. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Anyways.
And I did the math, and Joey verified it, and we got within 10 cents of each other. Done.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Finally. Yeah, we got there.
Yeah.
So the idea here, Mike, I think what we agreed is that for anything that one of us locks up, we're going to put 1 unit on. Right now, our bankroll is set at 20 units.
Yep.
So, and I don't need to throw specific dollar amounts out there, but the point is, we have a bankroll. 5% of it will be 1 unit. We are putting 1 unit on each lock because you and I both locked up under 39.5 in this Virginia Tech and Pittsburgh game. We were putting 2 units on that.
So there's a problem.
Yes,
Us in the legal state of Virginia cannot bet on colleges based in Virginia. So this week your lock isn't going to work.
Guess we'll have to find an offshore workaround. We'll come back to that.
Bet US.
Have I mentioned? I was going to say, have I mentioned our partners bet yet? No, I'm just kidding.
Partner's a strong word. All right, we'll figure out a workaround. Yeah, that's the problem is that in the state of Virginia, you can bet on everything except for things that happen in the state of Virginia or involve state of Virginia teams. So
Have you?
Correct.
I think Ariel still thinks we're sponsors. Partners.
I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. It would not. Wondering if we're giving out the right link or whatever it is. Anyways,
yeah. He's still trying to pay us in Dogecoin, I think.
That seems legit. Legit.
Yeah.
This is why we need legal sports gambling everywhere, so we're not dealing with sketchy Costa Rican offshore whatever. Anyways, is there anything else on the board?
One of the best conference calls I've ever been on, though, came from BetUS. So.
Really, the best conference call is the one that you and I had shortly after that call was over. I'd say if you know, you know, which nobody else really does.
Yeah, you know. Scott knows, though.
Yeah, Scott knows. I don't see anything else on the board that I think we should be actually wagering on, especially if I don't feel comfortable locking it up.
I got one.
Okay.
I got one. NC State plus a 3.5 is something I would be interested in.
Okay, so you're on the money line there.
No. Just plus the 3.5.
Well, your pick was for the money line.
My pick was for the money line, but from a show betting standpoint, collectively, you and I, the safer bet is obviously the plus the 3.5, which
sure.
I think if I'm actually putting hard-earned money on that is the one I would feel safer with. But if you, the listener out there, feels like sprinkling something on the money line, that would be the game to do it, I think, with NC State. I will not be doing, well, we'll see. We'll see what I do with my own money. But
depending on your book, I'm seeing NC State plus 140 or plus 150, something in that range with the money line.
At that point, just consider it.
Yeah. I think that's fair. It's an uncomfortable bet on my end. I don't feel that good about it. I'm trying to steer into a weird line.
Mm-hmm.
But Mike, sometimes the uncomfortable bets are the ones that you need to make. That's the way to go. So I'm with you. So 2 units on the under in Pittsburgh and Virginia Tech, 1 unit on NC State plus the 3.5.
Yep.
I'm good with that.
I think that's it for me.
Yeah. There's nothing else here that I'm really looking to, again, put the skin on the line there for. So I'm good here.
Yep.
I'll be putting this to get on the line for Clemson minus 6.5.
Oh baby.
Okay.
Oh baby.
Not buying the orange, huh?
No. I really liked Mike's point on that they need to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they lose this game, their season's essentially over for any goals they possibly had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You can still get
Clemson minus 6.5.
Still get into a conference title game potentially if you win this game, right? I mean, it's still a long shot. You can get to a conference title game. You can get to a New Year's Six game. all that stuff is still in front of you, even though you've had 2 really tough losses. So this is a huge game for Clemson, right? That's how Dabo is going to try to get them to avoid the letdown spot, I think, coming out of that Florida State loss.
Yep. Yeah, the big thing left on the board for Clemson is continuing their double-digit win streak, which has gone on for like a decade now.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, they get like one more loss, including their bowl game, and if they were to lose more than that, the streak would end.
Yeah,
in theory. So
yep.
I am so curious to see how that whole game goes, just because again, it's that series has been pretty sideways.
Has been.
All right, well there you have it. Those are our locks. Those are our picks. Mike, Scott, anything else before we work on getting out of here?
Yes, one last thing.
We do have one last thing, don't we, Scott?
Yes, sir.
This is your work of art here, Scott. I'll let you introduce it to the people.
Okay. For anyone that actually follows on, what's it called? Twitter. You've been seeing us tease X. Oh, excuse me, Elon. My bad. You've been seeing us tease out a new logo for the podcast. So we're going to be introducing some new branding. So if you're watching on YouTube right now, I'm about to show you guys what the new logo is. So congrats to the people that are watching on YouTube. But if not, there it is. So so you can see here now. Nothing really special about this. Had a really good friend help us out with a new redesign. Mike and Joey said it had been 4 years since they revamped it. So this is the new Shield logo. We also have a Wordmark logo, which I don't have ready available to show you. And then we have we'll have a new podcast symbol cover image coming out with this on it. So, you know, all of you in your podcast apps that are listening online, you see the old shield with the BC. You'll now see this shield with a similar backdrop of yard markers, but the yard markers have been changed to look like an audio waveform because you're listening to a podcast. So
Nifty.
It was kind of a brainchild idea that a family friend helped create. So hope you guys like it, and if you don't, well, too bad. So there you go. That'll be launching with... Yep, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, Joey, but this will all be launching on Friday when the podcast is released.
Yeah. Big shout out to the family friend who I think was hoping not to be named here, so I won't do that. But her support very much appreciated. We love this logo. As mentioned, I mean, this has been 4 years basically that we've been running with the same branding and everything, and so it was time for a refresh. And really appreciate her support. A number of kind of similar elements, but I think this looks super cool.
Yep. Awesome. Yep. Took the main core of what we had and just trying to tune it up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Let us know what you think. But yeah, hopefully this is a fun thing to look at, moving into the future.
Yep.
All right, Mike, Scott, now what? Anything else? We good?
I think we're good.
Yeah, good. Good on my end. Weird lines this weekend. Some interesting games. Just keep tabs on them.
I would agree with that. Yeah, it could be a fun one to watch. I will mention this, by the way, before we get out of here. Saturday Night Fever not happening this week. I will be out of town. We are going to a wedding celebration. Not like an actual wedding. It's like just, that people got married like a week or two ago, and then they're having like a reception, basically, it seems like this is happening more frequently these days. I don't know if this is like a new trend or what, but, hey, shout out to you guys for not making me fly up to Washington and go up to like Mount Rainier or whatever to watch you get married. I'm just going to Lake Hartwell in Georgia anyway. So, yeah, I'll be doing that Saturday night. I will not be on for Saturday Night Fever. We will come back and recap these games. What, Sunday night? Sound good?
Sunday night's good.
Yeah.
Sunday night's good.
So we'll do that. In the meantime, you guys can find us on Twitter. I'm at FTRS Joey. He's at Mike McDaniel SI, together at BC Podcast ACC. You can send us an email to the longest email address known to man, basketballconferencepodcast@gmail.com.
Nailed it.
Yep, thank you. We're on YouTube at youtube.com/@the-ACC Football Podcast. Come join us there. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, jump into the comments. We would really love having you join the conversation there. We've been building up a big community, so appreciate the folks that have been joining us there. Mike, we're on iTunes, Spotify, I guess what used to be Google Podcasts. I think it's going to be something else now. YouTube Music, I think, or something is coming up soon. But basically, anywhere you can find your podcasts, go find us there. That's where the audio versions will be posted as well. Mike, where else on the social medias?
Facebook.com/basketball conference rate review. Find a bunch of our podcasts there now. We post our stuff there, so go check that out.
Right.
Instagram at BC Podcast ACC. You'll see all of our picks. You'll see clips from time to time that Scott cuts up and puts up there. So go check that out. Yeah. Oh, YouTube, of course. YouTube.com/@the ACC Football Podcast.
Subscribe, please. Everybody's been doing that. Please continue to do that. It's really helping us out. So.
Should we talk about Colorado real quick just for the algorithm, or like?
Yeah, Colorado, Dion, Shiloh Sanders, Shadur, Travis Hunter,
Coach Prime,
yeah,
all those things.
Coach Prime, Primetime,
yeah, big ACC podcast guys.
Yeah, I think that just boosted us a bunch.
So. Wait till we get a short of just us babbling those terms, and then it'll really go to the moon. So
yeah,
join us on the moon when we do that.
That's correct.
Yep. Mike, Scott, that's all I got. You guys want to watch some games and come back and recap them?
See you on the recap.
We'll see you there. Week 5, 6 games. Let's go. All right, until then, for Mr. Mike McDaniel and Mr. Producer Scott, I am Joey Weaver. Thank you all so much for listening. We will talk to you again very, very soon. Enjoy the games, and until then, go ACC.